Hmm? What?
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Fortnightly Frontier. I'm your host, Darjanator. Over there is my good friend and co-host, Myre, and today we have a doozy of a show for you because we'll be covering two topics. Not just one, like we usually do, but dos. We'll be handling, well, basically some of the bigger news that we got during the past week or two in Star Citizen, and that would be the update to the Death of a Spaceman mechanic, which was very interesting to hear from the man himself, Chris Roberts, on Calling All Devs.
Who was the other guy? Was it
Richard
Ian Leyland?
Tyrer.
Richard? Was it Richard with him?
It was Richard Tyrer.
Okay.
Was it Richard Tyrer?
I don't know anybody but Chris.
I'm looking for my phone, and it's always where I leave it. On leaning on my screen because that's what I use for chat, and then I keep looking for it.
I think it was Richard Tyrer, actually. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, because I remember commenting that I was really impressed with his energy and zeal in the show, in every show that he's on, just because he always seems so excited and not worked to death like some devs do.
You kind of expect him to be a bit more tired. I don't apologize.
No, you can.
But yeah, so like the Death of a Spaceman stuff was pretty cool, actually. Like just because
confirmed it was Richard Tyrer. I was correct.
Right, because I think that like the last time we had any like official dev stuff about Death of a Spaceman was 2013, 2014. Like during the initial developer document or design document. And it was interesting to hear how much was the same and how much had changed.
You like the changes?
The changes. So I guess we have to kind of like touch upon what exactly the changes are, right? So for those who haven't yet seen that Calling All Devs, essentially, Death of a Spaceman, how it was supposed to be, was that if your character was to encounter a death-like moment, then what would happen is that we would suspend disbelief, fade to black, and then you'd wake up in a hospital, and, that's one of your, like your 9 lives gone or whatever, and depending on how you die, and depending on, like, I guess, the moments that led up to your death, etc., like, like, you'd basically roll a death saving throw with advantage or disadvantage, and there'd be a potential that the next time you fade to black and you wake up, you're actually at your own funeral or something, and you're all of a sudden in the shoes of your next of kin. So the next of kin thing is still there in the game, but essentially what they've said is that rather than having your character fade to black, because this is an MMO, and if you were to be killed, you'd drop all your gear and stuff, right? Like in any MMO, like let's say RuneScape in the wilderness or something, you die, you lose all your stuff, it's all on the ground for somebody else to loot. Or Dark Souls even, which or Demon Souls, I think Chris is what he mentions, right? You die in that game, you have to go back to where you died to get your stuff back. So in order to
Minecraft as well.
Oh yeah, that's right, and Terraria and stuff. But like, in order to get that kind of gameplay in, the best way that they thought to come about doing it and explaining it within the universe of Star Citizen was to say that within the game of SC, cloning is now a thing, and that's going to be the primary function of these hospitals. I believe that Richard Tyrer said that something like, when you start the game, you will have to first of all go to one of these hospitals and register. And then once you've registered, then essentially when you die, there are basically three I believe it's three stated like gameplay options when your character goes to 0 HP. So first of all, you get shot, and then you're in a down but not out state or whatever. Then then you can be dragged by a friend to a med bay and then healed, and ta-da, you're back to life. You can also be killed, and then like your character is just like irredeemable or whatever. But like in an MMO like World of Warcraft or any other thing like that, some let's imagine like a service beacon gets lit up, and then somebody can come and retrieve your body and then take it back to a hospital, or like let's say they have like a Hope Class Genesis or something like that, a Hope Class Misk Endeavor, sorry. Then they'll be able to fix you up there or whatever. And then of course the third one is you die and you're unable to get to you die and you're unable to get helped. Then in that case you can choose, like, again, let's use World of Warcraft for an example. You can choose to release your spirit and die for good, and then like the hospital will then basically print you out again, and possibly, who knows, like imprint your memories or whatever from before, however the heck they do that. Yeah.
Several questions pop up to me from that entire description. Okay, so the first one, which is like just being downed and then recovered and then healed by your compatriots, that's all fine and dandy. That's probably the first thing that we'll see with the new medical gun thing.
Yeah.
But the second one is, if you're downed and then recovered, how does that tie into the whole cloning thing? Like, because you would imagine that you wouldn't want to just sit around there and wait for a rescue party that could be hours, if not days away. That means that it's hours or days where you're not playing.
Are you saying what triggers the cloning process? Or
Yes.
I guess that's for the lore team to come in. If I was a lore person, I would say your Moby Glass is just like an Apple Watch or whatever, and so like it detects how long you've been dead for, and if you haven't been retrieved within a X amount of time, then you get reprinted and the other body is forfeit. They're probably gonna,
Sure.
they're probably like lore-wise going to implement some kind of like laws saying like you can only have one clone out at a time and stuff like that, and yeah.
So if you were to if you were to be the one that went and retrieved your body because you don't want to be staring at a black screen for hours or days, you would want to respawn, which basically means that there are two of you in the world.
Right.
Does that automatically trigger one of your clones and that body is gone completely? Or what?
They said that like once you trigger the cloning process, then you can go back and get your corpse and get the loot that was on your corpse. If whoever killed you or whatever killed you left your body unspoiled, you can go and get that stuff back.
The stuff back, yeah, but but still means that you're one of your lives down.
Yeah. So like you go back and you'll see your dead body and you're like, wow, that's kind of spooky. And then like loot it, go and piss on it maybe, and then continue on your Well,
So one other thing they mentioned was that your clone body may not be as good as your previous body.
Yeah. So again, Richard said that like your first thing, maybe they'll like tutorial through it or something like that. You go to a hospital and you register there, and you then have a clone in the hospital or something like that. So again, I don't know exactly how they would do it, but they do seem to want to have some kind of degradation thing going on. They use the words like DNA degradation and stuff. So I imagine, I don't know, from a lore standpoint, it could be that you're only allowed to register one clone. That clone gets printed once you die, and then that clone that gets cloned has to then register its DNA or whatever, right? And it's a continuous cycle.
Sure.
And, yeah. So like,
but that means that if your body before dying had its arm completely mangled and or possibly even cut off, that you would wake up with the arm,
fine. Yeah, I mean, like,
yeah.
So that's a good point. The old Death of a Spaceman document was like, if you get shot in the face, and it's a headshot and you've died, then the game will suspend disbelief and say, oh, well, you got shot in the jaw and passed out, and now you may have like a metallic jaw or something. Whereas with this new idea, it's, well, you're a clone that was recorded a while ago. Yeah. So you shouldn't inherit the injuries of the past, but there could be random degradation or whatever that would cause you to maybe like not have an arm that needs like a bionic replacement or something weird. But honestly, I think at that point we kind of need to wait on the lore team to give us. It's so open-ended. All it is your imagination.
I think it's going to be connected to the system of how they transfer your conscious from your old body from the second before you died to the new clone body, because as it is still a player's avatar, all of its knowledge is retained.
So here's the question: is there a transference of conscience, or is it just you waking up from the moment that you had just registered your clone?
But that doesn't
right
connect. That doesn't connect to how much you already know.
Exactly, it doesn't. No. How EVE Online solves this with their clones is that all your clones, I believe, have like a collar on your neck, and that like basically it records everything that you do. So once that clone dies, that information gets uploaded to the next clone, and then that clone then just downloads all those memory engrams and continues as
That makes sense. It's like in Altered Carbon with the sleeves and the little thingies. Have you seen Altered Carbon?
I have. I mean, it's like Altered Carbon, but at the same time, it's not. Because in Altered Carbon, you are just the one, like, you are the one pen drive with the soul inside. And up until that pen drive gets destroyed, you can go into any amount of bodies that you want. Whereas in EVE Online, it's, your data in a collar, then when that, when the body that the collar is wearing dies, that data then gets uploaded to the next corpse, or to the next body.
Black Tiger makes a good point. Like, unlike in EVE Online, there are no skills to transfer.
That is true, but then how do you explain the knowledge of what your character has learned in that time? I guess, do they need to? At the same time, all it would take really is for CIG to say that, oh, and yes, your character has an implant that's embedded in their brain that records everything. Then that's the problem solved.
And automatically uploads it. But, then the comlinks start getting involved, if the comlink is down, there's no way for your data to be transferred. It's it'll be very interesting to find out whether the lore team really hunkers down and tries to figure this one out, or it would be basically just a suspension of disbelief. Because there are no skills to transfer. All you have is the player's knowledge, the character's knowledge, and the character's reputation. But that can easily be explained by just it is a clone. It is genetically identical to the person that had those reputations already. So
But speaking of like being genetically identical, the idea that all of a sudden, after a certain amount of deaths, you become, like real death or permadeath, is that like this idea, I suppose, of almost like JPEG compression, where like your clone registers, another clone, and that uses the DNA of your previous clone, which uses the DNA of that clone, which uses the DNA of that clone, which is how they said that, like, eventually your body can have all these defects and stuff. And they also
But if your body isn't retrievable, there is no DNA to clone from.
Which is why you register them beforehand.
Yeah, but how is there degradation if you're always using that same batch of DNA, unless before you leave the hospital, your clone is harvested for that specific DNA package.
That was what I was. That's what I meant. Like the prime you registers once, and then that's it. When you get cloned, the new you registers and then goes, and then it keeps going until you have like one arm and you're like Cronenbergy and like slimy and stuff. And they talked about gene therapy. I think Richard Tyra brought up the word,
a very expensive procedure.
Yeah, which would essentially reset your lives or whatever, and
or reset, or just
give you an extra life.
I'm guessing there are going to be tiers of this procedure. The quality is going to improve depending on how much money you're willing to spend. So
yeah,
if you're very good at making money, it's possible that you'll be able to keep your original character from day one until the end of Star Citizen.
Right. And the question there goes, and a lot of people have been bringing this up in different chats and communities that have been browsing, that this kind of opens up CIG to monetize it quite heavily if they wanted to, in order to preserve your identity and stuff.
Oh, yeah. Like they could sell gene therapy tokens on the website in the Play Store.
Yeah. The other
would be pay to win.
Yeah.
I mean, in a way, like if your character is so important to you that you need to keep your original character at all cost.
Well, here is the other concern, right? So in most other MMOs, it says choose a name, and it's generally one name unless it's Star Wars, Knights of the Republic, or whatever. And you choose a surname and a name, right? So we don't, because of Death of a Spaceman, if, Myre Myerson gets real death, have I lost that handle?
You know what? I would say they would just go with the way how real life naming conventions go. And there's countless of people with identical names.
Right.
But they don't share the same social security number or ID number.
Right.
So, yeah. I don't think there should be any reason for you not to name your successor the same name as you had before.
Okay.
And, just legally change your name.
By that token,
for a fee.
You think that CIG should allow multiple people to all be called Darjanator?
There's like with ships.
Mm-hmm.
I think there should be what's the word? Not a fancy, like a vanity name.
Okay.
And then a legally distinct name or identifier.
So what we currently have, we have a handle. We have a community moniker, and we have a login name.
Yeah.
They could easily add a fourth one, and that could be your character's name. And then perhaps maybe your handle or community moniker will get inherited. That way, there'll always be a Starbuck, but it's a different person or whatever, right? I suppose. But yeah, it's another one that I saw people going, with Death of a Spaceman, it means that, they were very concerned about that. But yeah, otherwise, it does seem like a pretty neat mechanic in general. That will push forward people's stories and stuff for those who are interested in roleplay. While at the same time, perhaps not necessarily being too, cumbersome for people who don't care about their character/story. But more about their account and what they have in it.
Yeah. And bloodlines are also going to make for interesting storylines when it comes to feuds and grudges and stuff like that.
So the moment I heard Chris and Richard talk about these new systems and stuff, of course the first thing my mind goes to is how can it be abused, right? And the first thing I thought of was, people generally in, games where you have the agency to kill somebody else on your own terms or whatever, they generally will just random deathmatch, unless, of course, there's a huge penalty for doing so. In Star Citizen, that penalty is going to jail, but if you're willing to to risk that, right, you just killed somebody, right? You're right now, killing somebody is pretty much as far as it goes when it comes to griefing somebody, right? You can't really continue to kill somebody in Star Citizen because they spawn somewhere you might not necessarily know where they are. But But with this new system comes the ability now to kill somebody, and then they're stuck in their corpse, and then you take their corpse, and then you put it in the back of your reclaimer, and you go. And now you have their corpse, and now you have people from their org begging you to sell it to them so they don't have to real death.
Yeah, which is probably why why real death doesn't happen immediately, and you have I don't know, did they mention how many lives? Is it 5? Is it 9? Like
they
cats?
did not give a number.
No, but which is why there's multiple instead of a single one.
Right. But by keeping somebody's corpse inside your ship, you deny them the most painless way, I suppose, of continuing their lives. Essentially, if you are found by somebody in a Cutlass Red or like any medical ship, then you forego the death saving throw of having to like wake up with one eye or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, and then it's up to you to find the person who killed you and took your body and have them pay for your gene therapy.
Well, I mean, you try getting a Reaver to pay your freaking like insurance.
Well, kill them, take their loot, sell it, and use that to pay for your therapy. So
I mean, if you were able to get yourself in a situation where you got killed that way, how do you expect to do it? You just end up doing what so many people do in things like DayZ and get yourself into a death cycle. Until you then have to actually perma real death because some dude has 5 of your corpses in a fridge.
Oh, but yeah, can you imagine it's like you're just decorating your outpost with the corpse of the same person who keeps coming back.
Right.
It's like, yeah.
That's the ultimate chef's kiss for a griefer.
Bad?
Yeah, that's the ultimate chef's kiss for a griefer. Because you actually have trophies as a result. Whereas you don't in other games.
I mean, there will be cleanup. There should be cleanup. Unless...
Sure.
Yeah,
unless they're inside your ship.
on a game level, like on a server level, there's going to be cleanup of disused items to which a body would fall under.
Sure, but with iCache, I'd be pissed if my trash got cleaned in my ship.
Oh yeah, no. It was mentioned that it's like heavily traveled areas. Like if you kill somebody in the middle of a city and dump their body in the middle of the street,
I'm not dumping their body. I'm dragging it into my ship.
Yeah. Okay. No, I'm just saying, a heavily traveled area with social workers and not like community workers and stuff like that. People responsible to keep the area clean and crime free and stuff like that. In that case, a body like that is logically going to get cleaned up. But if you take it to your ship and drag it to your personal outpost, then yes, items are going to persist much longer.
Hypothetically, dragging people into my ship.
Hypothetically, yes.
Please don't do it to me.
Oh yes, I can imagine lots of shenanigans once that starts coming in, and I think it and it was pretty much confirmed that one of the things that that's preventing them from doing this, which I alluded to, was the separation of avatar and player.
Right.
Because if you die right now, your body is moved to your respawn location.
And then brought back to life,
And then brought back to life, yes. They need to have a system where your control scheme is decoupled from that body and attached to another body that is either identical or has some form of damage when it's cloned up. That's basically it. And
I suppose that's exactly the case. So Zomax in chat says, you've got an entire org coming for you. They can just do the same thing to you. Then only Mr. Lone Pirate trying to get it back from an org. I wouldn't advise that. Well, I mean, sure, not everybody is going to do it. I mean, obviously, it's definitely something that, it's a measured thing that you'd think about doing, right? But I don't think CIG would disallow it because it allows to tell a story, right, of these players or people in the verse that go about, like body snatching and perhaps, like body ransoming or whatever.
But I mean, Myre and I are grateful to be part of the greatest organization in the world. So if another organization tries to do this to us,
they'll laugh at us.
No, but we could just go ask, and then it's like knock knock, who's there?
Test Squadron.
Like the entirety of Test Squadron, once we get server meshing and iCache in, like you have something of ours.
I mean, like it's gonna be like I guess if they snatch Montoya, it's gonna be like Helen of Troy all over again,
Oh, yeah. All right. Okay. Yeah. People like Montoya are gonna be in real trouble.
In general. I mean, it's gonna suck. I mean, to be to stream this game with those mechanics is going to be very interesting, to say the least.
Yeah. Like on the one hand, you kind of would want some sort of tool to have to hide your identity from would-be kidnappers. But on the other hand, that prevents fun gameplay.
Yeah. Also, it's one of those things where, like, as interesting as things might come, like, where people are like, okay, Montoya's on our list. Oh, Myre, he sneezed at a convention once. He's on my list. Apparently, it's kind of against TOS to, like, put people on hit lists and stuff like that, even hypothetical ones before the game is out. It's... So it'll be interesting to see exactly how it plays out and like how heavy CIG will be on the anti-griefing standpoints and like what they will constitute as griefing, like especially if it's a mechanic that they allow, like being able to fridge somebody else's body and run off with it. But yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, we have ships with fridges, with walk-in fridges. Well, we have one ship with a walk-in fridge, but
two, a hammerhead and an 890 jump.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah,
but yeah, I'm sure we're gonna have an architect review a hospital many times.
All the hospitals. Yeah, on every planet. So
yeah.
There's how many? There's Maria Pure of Heart at Lorville. There's the I forget what the name is in New Babbage, but basically as soon as you walk out of the elevator on the left before you go down the stairs to the metro, there's that.
I see it.
Does Area 18 have a hospital?
Area 18 does have a hospital. It's as you enter it, it's to your left.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
I can't remember what it's called.
And Levski has one.
It's called
Grimhex
Hospital. Grimhex does not know.
No. Yeah. So
not
basically,
yet.
every major location does have a hospital at this point. Yeah.
Yeah. No, Levski's is the easiest to remember because it's just called Hospital.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyway, I think, does that wrap it up for Death of the Spaceman? Is there anything else that we haven't covered?
Well, I primarily wanted to talk about how consciousness is going to be transferred from one body to another. But at the end of the day, does it really matter?
It does. It does from a lore standpoint, and I don't think the lore team is going to leave that part unanswered. Even if it's just a lore thing that's not actually experienced in the game, because it is kind of like a weird thing, right? Like, okay, you've registered this clone in the hospital for the like in the case of your disappearance and or death, right? So how does that clone then know all the stuff that you've done? What if you registered that clone today and then you're a badass and you don't die for 3 years? Do you have to keep re-registering a clone?
Or
so that the newest one remembers everything?
Yeah. Or every time you get into a comlink network, your consciousness is updated to the cloud.
Yeah.
But it's only the stuff that wasn't saved. If you for instance, if you died in a non-comlink, environment that that only that gets lost. But
Yeah.
I tried coming up with ideas for this. Implants don't work because they're physicalized. Like instant data upload doesn't work because like I said, comlink could be down. You could be in a system where a comlink array doesn't even exist, like Pyro.
Yeah. In those sorts of situations, I guess last known backup. I mean, like
Last known backup, yeah.
Yeah.
But that doesn't explain what the player knows. I mean,
yeah, the player. I mean, exactly right. Like, for that, I guess.
Unless CIG ships everyone a neuralizer from Men in Black that automatically, flashy things as soon as you die to the exact moment that you're supposed to forget.
So that's what the CIG webcam was.
Yes.
But yeah,
I think we've talked enough about this topic.
Yeah, looking forward to seeing the mechanic in game. They said that more or less like the tier 1 version of this would essentially be body dragging, right? Body dragging is the first step to this system, and allowing you to take somebody who's been down somewhere to be healed, with it then to be flushed out until it's we got this weird gene therapy thing that I'm sure the lore team are really excited to talk about, because there's so many other IPs out there that do something kind of similar.
Another idea strikes me.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you die. Okay. Hypothetically, you die.
Okay.
And you decide that you're not going to wait for a rescue team.
Okay.
So you clone up.
You forfeit, yeah.
You forfeit. You clone up. But then the bad guys grab your body and revive you.
I think there must be some link between cloning up and your previous body not being able to be revived. But lore-wise, I think it would be possible. But I also think that just like in Altered Carbon, having 2 instances of yourself must be illegal to some degree.
Sure, but these are bad guys. They are not concerned with what's legal and what's illegal.
Right.
So maybe, it kind of reminds me of the Star Trek episode where Will Riker was in a transport accident and he got duplicated, and one version of him made it to the Enterprise, one version didn't.
Okay.
And the people on the Enterprise didn't know this happened. So, and then several years later, this Bill Riker, I think that how he went about, wasn't a very savory fellow.
Right. I mean, I guess that could happen. It'd make for very interesting quest chains, but I'm not really sure exactly how it would pertain to playing the game.
Yeah, it's like they, your cloned body, or your previous body, somehow goes to the other side, starts coming up in ranks in this outlaw group, and then all of a sudden it's, while your new body, goes on this mission to fight this group, you get to the end boss. He takes off his helmet, and it's you. I'm done.
I think we're done with this topic now, Darj.
Yeah, pretty much.
So how are we rolling into the next thing? Is the end of a video? Are we having 2 videos?
I don't know. I thought it'd be longer.
No, Michael Scott, shut up. Shut up!
That's what she said.
It's too late. Anyway.
But sure.
Alright guys, thank you so much for dropping by for an episode of the Fortnightly Frontier. Stay tuned. I don't know how YouTube playlists work, but we're about to roll into the next episode soon. Until then, we'll see you around the verse.
Around the verse.
Yeah.